Welcome back. This is video number 2 where I deep dive into my workbook about how to prepare intentions for psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy. So let's go ahead, let's get into it. Hi everybody, I'm Jill. Welcome back to the Journey Sage, and this is the channel where I talk about my process of healing childhood trauma-induced PTSD with psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy. And one thing I didn't know when I first started the therapy was how important intention setting is in the entire process. When you hear about psychedelics, if you've done any research, you'll very often hear set and setting. Set means your mindset, and in a therapeutic psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy journey, the intention or the healing intentions are super important. So what I did in the workbook is I basically went through my journals and I looked at all the different ways my therapist and I had kind of eventually gotten to some sort of intention. The majority of the intentions that I wrote about in Rescuing Jill all dealt with fear because that was a major component of my PTSD. And I would say that I got to those major intentions with a whole bunch of little ones along the way. So the 8 that are in here are basically totally from my experience. So I guarantee there's lots of other ways to also craft intentions. But today what I want to talk about is how the book is designed, because it was my hope that I've made this process as easy as possible. We're going to be talking about the first prompt, the body prompt. This is the prompt that I used first and kind of always went back to kind of check myself. It is available on my website as a download, and I will be referencing as a little graphic throughout this video. Unfortunately, this is a reading glasses kind of activity here when I look over my own workbook. So welcome to, reading glasses with Jill. Now, when you look at the workbook, every prompt basically has 4 pages attached to it. Page 1 is all about identifying a symptom that is somehow presenting in the body. And the prompt that I use, or I give an example, because what I do is I give 3 different questions and I use one of the questions to answer to give folks an example of kind of how I thought about things. So the first one would be, I have recurring pain in. And I answered it, I have always had incredibly recurring pain in my neck, like fire in my neck. And that was something that I very often talked about when I was talking to my therapist. If I was thinking about some sort of memory and my therapist would say, okay, let's take a moment. Do you feel anything in your body? It would be right here on fire. So there you go. I've identified a pain that comes back recurring. And that's just one of the questions, but that's the question that I'm using in this example. The second page is, what could that recurring pain tell me? And this is where I was not ready for this kind of therapy. I was totally surprised when my therapist said, well, okay, let's pay attention to that neck pain, that searing. What is that pain telling you? What's it telling me? So yeah, I got quiet, I concentrated, and in my situation, because I was dealing with child abuse, I immediately thought of a time when I was probably about 9 or 10 and had just gotten beaten and was so frustrated that I couldn't get out. And that's the first time I remember that pain. And as I was thinking about that childhood memory that I hadn't thought about in years, I realized that I get that pain when I, in some way, shape, or form, feel trapped, if I don't have a choice. And I'm talking about work situations. I'm not talking that I'm still in a dangerous situation, thank goodness. My body was responding to normal work stress where maybe your options are limited, the same way that my body was responding to that 9 or 10-year-old that couldn't get away from an abusive situation. So at that point, I understood where that pain was coming from and what that pain was trying to tell me. And that was a pretty strong symptom. The next page is where I give an opportunity to write an intention. And the intention might be, I want to comfort that 9 or 10-year-old, or I want to not feel so trapped, or I want to not have my body respond when I'm clearly not really trapped anymore. It could be any variety of that phrasing, whatever works for you. But that's basically the premise. Number one, identify the symptom in your body. Number two, sit with that symptom. Maybe talk to it. Pay attention to what it's trying to tell you in its own way and give it as much time as you need. I'm obviously condensing this story because I'm on video. And then if it is something that you feel that you need to heal in a psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy session, then make it into an intention. The fourth page is about resistance. I actually have a page about resistance after every single body prompt, and that's going to be its own video because that's a very important topic. So there you go. I hope that being able to see this particular prompt and how the book is laid out can make it clearer about my process of coming up with healing intentions for my year of healing. My memoir and my workbook can always be found on Amazon. Head on over to thejourneysage.com for more information and resources. And let's get ready. Video number 3.